Hello everyone and welcome to a special Marvel Crisis Protocol battle report, because this is not a normal battle. This is the Infinity Gauntlet Ultimate Encounter that comes in the Thanos box, where Thanos, over on his throne, has collected all the Infinity Stones, and a last-ditch effort to try and stop him, the Crisis teams, 18 threat each, have created an antimatter cannon which can temporarily disable his godhood, and they will be using that to make him vulnerable in the hopes of stopping him. So there's probably a lot to go over. You can see the table is already set up, so this isn't like a normal battle report if you've seen the others. The only other Ultimate Encounter covered on this channel was the Ultron one. Didn't do the Hulk one because the Hulk one didn't appeal, but all his metal was the Ultron one where he's super powered. This is the one where Thanos is super powered. He's got a new stat card that we'll look at as well. But the gist of what the Crisis teams have to do, and we'll go over the specifics of their setups in a second, is there is 3 generators, amplification modules is what they're actually called, on the table. They require amplification modules, which any Crisis character can pick up for 1 power from any one of these Stark Industry boxes. They put them in the generators, and then anyone who interacts with this gun can shoot an enemy, Thanos, although he can bring in help eventually, to give him vulnerability tokens, which are the tokens that look like that. And as long as he has at least 1 on him, he can take damage. If he has none, he takes no damage because of a difficulty. Oh, I should point out, there's multiple difficulty levels you can play encounters at. We're doing the narrative one, so it's kind of to craft the story. It means that Thanos has a buff, but so do the Crisis teams. And again, we can cover that now, in fact. So, the Crisis teams, 18 threat of Avengers, 18 threat of Wakanda. They have invalidable, I don't know what that word is. I've never heard it prior to this card. Resolve, which is just a passive in play. During the power phase, Crisis team characters gain 1 additional power. Everybody. So that is in play for them, but Thanos has a thing as well. So the Avengers, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, Hawkeye, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Black Widow, and because of the difficulty level being played, they get 3 Team Tactics cards. Avengers Assemble, Second Wind, Seeing Red. Wakanda is Black Panther, Okoye, Shuri, Winter Soldier, and the Hulk, and they have Wakanda Forever, Vibranium Shielding, and Advanced R&D. So it's 18 threat. Again, if you play on a higher difficulty, you get less Team Tactics cards, you don't get the buff either. Before we go over to Thanos' side of the table, last thing to track, this is where any modules put into each of the 3 go, and you can have that many in total. And the encounter thing at the bottom is just for Thanos' turns, because again, if you haven't seen an Ultimate Encounter, 3 Crisis team members go, Thanos gets a turn, 3 go, Thanos gets a turn, 3 go, Thanos gets a turn, anyone who hasn't had a turn goes. That's how these work. And if we come over here, we'll worry about the specifics, the special rules once they happen. Thanos is using this card. It does have a flip side, where he gets very angry and very powerful. He gets the Cosmic Obliteration ability. But because of the difficulty level, Cosmic Entities is in play for him, and what that just means is that if he doesn't have it's a suppression, I don't know if I called them, those blue tokens that get fired by the cannon are suppression tokens, and they make him vulnerable. So if he doesn't have any on them and he would take damage, he's pushed small instead, and it's resolved by the Crisis team. And also he can't have activated tokens added to him. I'm not sure what would add activated token to him, but that's there just to say you can't do that. He has 1 copy of every Infinity Gem, however it's not the normal ones, they are the ultimate versions which do much more dangerous things. Every one of his activations within a turn, he picks 1 of them, so let's say he picked the Power Gem. It goes there, and is active for that turn. His turn, or his second activation for a turn rolls around, he activates a different one, overwrites the last one, etc. And he can do that in each of his 3 turns per battle round, I guess is the way to say it. Special thing happens first time he's dazed, he's got 12 HP, and then after that happens, he will eventually flip over to his other side where some other stuff happens, and he has 20 HP. And he starts on his throne there. Now the only other thing to do before we get started is to set up the Crisis teams, and they are allowed to put 1 person up roughly here-ish, and roughly here-ish, because the story is they ambush Thanos, so 1 person in each team can be like flanked on him. So we'll get that set up, and then get ready to get started. So the table is set up, basically everybody's in a line except the heavy hitters who are flanking. The Hulk's on this side, Thor's on this side. Totally forgot to go over how each side wins in this Ultimate Encounter. Thanos wins if all three of these are disabled, and they can be disabled by him interacting with them. You roll equal to an attack for 0, as in like he can't do his big attack, it has to be 0 cost. Depending on the number of successes, it does damage. They have 5 health. They can be repaired. The lose conditions for the heroes, the win condition for the heroes is Thanos is defeated if he gets KO'd. If there's only 4 Crisis team members left on the table, 4 or less, it's an instant win for Thanos as well. Based on, I think it's called like he's pleased death or something like that. So she's satisfied, and that's a victory for him, although it's a lesser victory than actually destroying these, I would say. Interacting with these to grab one of the cores costs a power, however putting it into one of these is a free action, and I think you have to spend power to fire the gun as well, offhand. The Crisis team always goes first, so Thanos has to wait because they've ambushed him. So with that, I think that covers everything. Anything else that wasn't covered, we'll cover it as we play. Last check. I think we're good. Yep, we are ready to get started. So with that, someone in each Crisis team is going to get things kicked off. So the first person to get things started was Black Panther. He moves long. So he moved long to this side of this Stark tech here. He's paid a power to pick up one of the amplification modules, and then almost did a full long move to get on that far side of the amplification module and put it in. Did I see that they were both amplification modules there? Sorry, one is an antimatter core. That's where it is. You take antimatter cores from the Stark tech and put them in the amplification modules. So that is module number 1. It has 1 in it. Now you're supposed to take that and put it on like the number 1 on this card here. But I felt to keep track of things as a viewer, it'd be easier if you just saw how many cores are on them. The ideal is to have 1 on each of them before firing the gun, because then there's an extra bonus for how many suppression tokens Thanos gets. Probably not going to happen turn 1. But yeah, what happens now is Thanos doesn't get a turn yet. 2 more people have to activate, and if they're just going to move around, we'll just cover them both real quick. So for those 2 activations, Winter Soldier basically did a mirror of Black Panther's turn. Moved, took an antimatter core, moved, placed it inside generator number 2. Then Captain America activated, he came forward, he grabbed a core, but then he moved into the center at the gun. He didn't fire it, because no one's in range to really hurt Thanos, or well, maybe Thor could reach him, but really you want to hit him hard and fast, I think. So with that, that's 3 characters activated, which means Thanos now gets to have his first turn. So we're over here for Thanos' turn to show that he activated the ultimate time gem for his first activation. The speed of all enemy characters becomes small, the speed of allied characters become long, so he can move maximum distance. So for his first action he just did a move, but he moved, so he's still within 1 so that he could try and trash this amplification module. You roll equal to his 0 power strike, which is 6 dice. For every crit, wild and hit you do 1 damage. Roll quite badly and he only got 2. The modules have 5 health, and if they get 5 you flip them and they're trashed. All 3 are trashed, instant lose, but again they can be repaired. So for his next, that was his action because he attacked. Actually no, he technically would have another action, wouldn't he, because that's an interact even though you roll for an attack. But I don't think there's anyone in range to be attacked anyway. Actually, you know what, his other 0 attack is a range 3, so he could definitely hit Cap. So we'll actually come back and do that in a second. But the other thing he did was spend 3 power to pick up a train piece of 3 or less. Yeah, 3 or less within 2, throw it long. He picked up that chunk of boulder that was there, flung it at Bucky. Bucky saw it coming though, managed to avoid most of the damage. He took 1 damage as a result. But yeah, we'll come back after Thanos has done a cosmic blast on Captain America. So Thanos did the cosmic blast. It's a 5 energy, but he can put up to 3 powers worth of extra dice in. He put his remaining 2 into Cap. Cap's defense roll was absolutely appalling, so he took 4 damage, and there was a wild, so he got pushed back small, so he's been pushed away from the cannon. And yeah, he took 4 damage, so that is it now properly for Thanos' first activation this battle round. Now 3 more Crisis team characters get to go. So due to the effects of the ultimate time stone and everybody being reduced to small movement, which I think I called slow before, which is just silly. Well, it's still amped, I guess. I'm just going to quickly cover the 3 activations because nothing else could happen, especially because Thanos still can't take any damage. Okoye moved up small, grabbed the core, moved up small, put it in number 2. Shuri did the exact same thing with her movement to get over there. put it in there, so that generator's got 3 in it now. Then Iron Man activated, and he had to use both movements to get into the Stark Tech, so he spent 1 power, and he now has a core on his person as well. That's all they could do. So now it's back over to Thanos. The Ultimate Time Stone is no longer in effect. Another gem comes into effect instead, and he gets to wreak havoc. So this turn, Thanos activated the Ultimate Power Gem. It gives him 10 power, and his cap for power until his next turn rolls around becomes 15 rather than 10. So that's pretty good. So he interacted with this again and punched at it and only did 1 more damage to it, so it's up to 3. He then decided to do a move and an attack, but just to quickly cover, he does have a passive where he gets to reroll any failed dice on an attack. That includes skull results. It specifically specifies you can reroll skulls. This is an interact, not an attack, so presumably that means you don't get to reroll on that. And despite him having a reroll for all misses, he buffed up Cosmic Blast to 8 power. 8 dice, did it on Okoye, rolled terribly for the first roll, re-rolled all the misses, rolled terrible again. She rolled fantastically for her defense and she took no damage. So that was not a good turn for Thanos, but that's fine. He did decide to leave this one without breaking it fully, but that seems like the perfect amount to leave it on, because then if he goes to break another one, come back to that one, it's pretty easy to finish it off. For every Crisis Team person near a module, when he tries to break it, it makes it harder to do. I've forgotten specifically how that's done, but for every one person securing it, it's harder. So anyway, 3 more Crisis Team members get to activate. So there's still 2 more activations to go, but it was important to cover the first one. Thor activated, who was over there. He just did a double medium move, but he went to the cannon in the middle of the map. He fired it and chose Thanos. So what that does is it draws at least 1 core from every amplification module that's able. So obviously it took 1 from there and 1 from there. And for every 1 taken in this way, Thanos or another villain gets a suppression token. So Thanos now has 2 suppression on him, meaning he can be damaged. Now, had there been a core there as well, and at least 1 had been taken from each, a bonus suppression token gets put in, but obviously that didn't apply here. So that's important to mention, because now Thanos can be damaged, so he might get hurt by whoever goes next. So the Hulk activated, spent 3 to do a Gamma Leap, then did a move and then did a basic strike on Thanos and whiffed entirely. It didn't even matter that Thanos gets 5 dice for defense against physical and energy. He gets 6 for Mystic. So the Hulk wasn't able to do anything. However, he did deliberately end within 1, so he interacted with the Stark Tech to pick up a core, so he has 1 on his person, but he wasn't able to take advantage of his suppression tokens. So back over to another Crisis Team member. So Hawkeye activated, and from where he was, he shot his full quiver at Thanos, including getting a wild. Thanos did take 2 damage, but he has the passive that most of the Black Order have, where damage is reduced by 1, not to a minimum of 1. So if 1 damage gets done to him, it gets reduced to 0, so Shuri basically can't hurt him. Either way, it did do 1 damage to him, and bleed was put through, because he's only immune, as far as I can tell, to slow, stagger, and stun. So he is now bleeding, and we'll have to deal with that. It's very much all that for a drop of blood type situation. With the 1 power generated from that, Hawkeye then did Hook Arrow to put him where you can see him. He did not deposit the core, though. I think he's going to try and go for the long one there. So now it is Thanos' last activation for Battle Round 1, and then Black Widow over there gets to end off the turn proper. So for Thanos' last activation, he used the Ultimate Space Stone, which just lets him teleport anywhere on the battlefield. So he teleported right into Captain America's face. His first action was to clear his bleed. His second was to strike Captain America. He only needed to do 1 damage. Cap didn't bother trying to defend because he's just going to flip his card. So he took 2 damage and was dazed, and he dropped his core behind him there. So now it's over to Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Widow to end the first battle round. So Black Widow could have attacked Thanos, but she doesn't roll that many dice without being able to do her best attack, which requires 3 power. So instead she did a medium move, picked up the core that Captain America dropped, moved again to where you can see her, and deposited it in the number 1 amplification module there. And that is the end of the battle round. So during the cleanup phase, there's no victory points to score or anything like that, but Thanos can try and shake suppression. So we'll go over that and then move into battle round 2. So it's critical physical conditioning. No, sorry, no. Yes, it is. They both called the same thing. Cleanup phase, roll 5 dice for each crit, wild, or hit roll. This character may remove 1 special condition and 1 suppression. So actually, he didn't need to get rid of the bleed, because that would have done it as well, because for each one of those rolled, it's a special condition and a suppression token. 2 were rolled out of the 5, so his 2 suppression is gone. As Battle Round 2 starts with the Crisis teams going first, Thanos is back to being immortal. So just going to cover the first 2 of the first 3 activations for the Crisis teams. Thor did a double move, First of all, moved there, picked up a core, moved closer to this damaged module, put the core in there. Then Hawkeye activated, he moved, he shot the gun at Thanos, so that was 1 core from each, so that means it gets a bonus 1, so he has 4 suppression on him, which is hopefully hard for him to shake. He then shot an arrow into Thanos' back. It would have done 1 damage, but Thanos reduced his damage taken by 1 with no minimum, so he took no damage from that. So there is 1 activation left, and hopefully it'll be someone who can finally put the hurt on him, but let's see what happens. So thankfully for the Crisis teams, they have a Hulk. He moved forwards for his first action. His second action was 4 power on a Hulk smash. 8 physical dice against Thanos. It did 4 damage, but obviously that means it did 5 reduced to 1. Thanos' defense roll was pretty bad, so that's the first major hit he's taken. He could technically be thrown small, but the damage would be reduced to 0. So it didn't seem like there was a point, so Thanos is staying where he is. It would have staggered as well because of the wire, but he's immune to that, so that is it. So now it's Thanos' first activation for Battle Round 2. So oh boy did Thanos stop playing around this turn. He activated the reality gem, the ultimate reality gem. The normal reality gem just means you treat 1 skull as crits for attack, defense, dodge and interacts. The ultimate does it for all skulls. So he did was stay still. He did 2 different cosmic blasts, which are normally 5 power. He spent 3 power on each to buff them up to 8. So all skulls and crits were counting as crits. So anyway, Okoye, 6 damage. She did pretty well on her dodge. Dazed. Captain America used Vibranium Shield, didn't matter. Took 8 damage and is gone. That is Thanos showing who's boss. The Reality Stone, or the Ultimate Reality Stone, is scary. So back over to 3 Crisis team members to try and make up for these losses. So man, that was a rough 3 activations with Thanos getting to reroll or count skulls as crits for defense rolls as well. Just going to quickly go over the 3 activations. Black Widow shot Widow's Kiss at Thanos, couldn't get through his defense. Moved up to where you can see her. Did she take a core? No, she didn't have any power to take a core. Then Iron Man activated, moved up, deposited the core he was holding into there, shot homing missiles at Thanos, did nothing. And then the Winter Soldier activated, moved up and did a Red Fury, and that managed to do 1 damage. The follow-up assault rifle attack, which also you pushed the target back a little bit, did no damage. It did 2 damage down to 1, but all in all that for a drop of blood again. Thanos took 1. That means he's on 6 damage altogether out of the 12 he's got on his healthy side, and it is over to his second activation. So for this activation, Thanos used the Ultimate Soul Gem. Return a KO'd Crisis team character within 1 of this character to play as a minion. The returned character is on their healthy side, has 3 power, remove them at the end of this turn. Super Rare can only be used once per turn, and each character can only be brought back to the encounter this way once. So he brought back Captain America, who is now serving Thanos as a minion with 3 power within 1 of him. Then he spent 1 power to interact with this to try and hit it. It is reduced, the successes are reduced by 1 for every healthy character within, so he didn't manage to damage it at all. Then he did a Cosmic Blast full power into Tony Stark. It did 3 down to 2 because of Invincible Iron Man. Then he did a Basic Strike. It did 2 down to 1. Now it would normally go back over to the Crisis team, however now he's got a minion in play, and a minion can go before or after each of the Cosmic Threats turns. So now Zombie Captain America gets to do something. So Zombie Captain America just did 2 basic strikes on Iron Man, each one did 1 damage, but that was enough to daze him. So Iron Man is down, Zombie Captain America is there till the end of the turn, and now it's back to the Crisis teams to try and salvage something here because they are not doing enough damage. The first Crisis team activation was Shuri, and she used Advanced R&D, spent up to 5 power, distribute them 1 each to team members. She had 3, she gave 1 to Hulk, Winter Soldier and Black Panther, then did a double move to get over to the Tony Stark core boxes over there, and that's all she did. So 2 more to go. So because of people getting dazed, it is not in fact 2 activations to go, because Black Panther was the only one left conscious that hasn't had a turn yet. He did Explosive Force with his kinetic armor, put 1 extra power into it to blast Thanos. Zombie Captain America spent 2 power to bodyguard it, so it was on him instead. It would do 4 damage, I think it was. Irrelevant, because it's going to be the end of the turn and he's going to vanish anyway. Thanos got pushed by a wild. It would do 1 damage, but 1 damage gets reduced to 0. So he got shoved a little bit and took no damage. So Black Panther retreated up there, and that is it for Battle Round 2 for the Crisis team. Thanos has one more turn left? That doesn't seem right. Has he had his 3 turns? No, he hasn't. It's just so many people have been knocked out. Because he's only used 2 gems so far, right? That is real bad. So Thanos once again used the ultimate power gem to give himself 10 power, 3 of which was spent on buffing up a cosmic blast 8 dice. So many crits got rolled. He actually did like 11 damage, but that's more than enough to show the Winter Soldier got obliterated and dazed. He then did a move for a second action, interacted. Oh, in fact he interacted, so that one power was spent there and didn't get removed. To interact to try and smash this now that Iron Man was unconscious and Captain America's on his side. He did 3 damage to it, so that's that said and done. It's now the end of the turn, so Cap's ghost disappears, and should we just do the roll for Thanos on camera to see how many suppression tokens he loses, so we can just go on to the next turn. So he rolls 5 dice, crits, hits and wilds. Oh dear. He just lost all 4 suppression tokens. He is back to being immortal as we go into battle round 3. So we're going to cover the first 3 Crisis Team activations for this turn. Black Panther activated first, grabbed the core, moved, and put the core in. I know it's not there now, but that's because Hawkeye activated and fired the cannon, which took 1 core from each of them, which put 4 suppression on Thanos because 1 was taken from each. He then also shot an arrow, didn't do any damage. Last activation was the Hulk. He moved and then did a Hulk smash for 4 power again. He's supposed to be the damage dealer. It did 2 down to 1 damage. Thanos is just rolling too well. He feels unbeatable. Oh, also he did interact and put his core into there, so that's why there's still 1 in there now. Over to Thanos' first activation for this battle round. So here we are for Thanos' first activation this turn, and he really feels unstoppable. He activated the ultimate space gem to teleport wherever he wants on the map. He was sitting on 10 power. He could have had more than that technically before it rolled over because of the ultimate power gem raising the cap to 15 while it's in effect, but it doesn't matter. He spent 3 power twice on 2 empowered cosmic blasts. Also, have totally been forgetting, any wilds mean that this should also have been slowing anyone who survived, not that it matters most of the time. So he teleported right over here. He did 2 empowered cosmic blasts for 3 power each on Winter Soldier and Okoye. 9 damage, 5 damage. They are both dead because they were on their dazed side. He then spent 1 power to interact with this, did 4 damage. It's got 1 health left before it breaks. That's inevitable power for you. That's incredible. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters left. Remember, if it hits 4, that's one of the win conditions for Thanos. 3 more hero activations down, and you'll notice a distinct lack of damage icons around Thanos. It's a tough one. So first of all, Iron Man activated, and he did 2 unibeams, because it's range 5, beam 5 in fact, on Thanos. That's 8 power he spent, or yeah, 8 power, they're 4 each. No damage from either of them. Never a risk of damage from either of them. Next activation was Thor. He moved forward medium, he threw his hammer at Thanos. It did nothing. Last activation, Okoye Shiri grabbed a core, went over there, put it in. That is it. So that does mean Black Widow is the only other person left as we go to Thanos' second turn. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't done many ultimate encounters. Does he still get his third turn regardless of whether or not there's any heroes left to activate in between? I would assume so, because he's to get 3 activations per turn, or per battle round I should say. So presumably he still does. Like for example, if he's not going to be able to reach because he's already used the space gem, but say he got over there and killed Black Widow so there was no activations left for the hero, it would presumably roll into another turn for him. It's not going to come to that this time, but his third turn is still up in the air. But let's get started with the second. So Thanos once again activated the power gem. That's the first time in this turn though, to give him 10 power. And he spent 1 to interact with this. He punched it, he has broken it, so you flip it. It has to be repaired. If all 3 were flipped, it would be the other lose condition because Thanos can once again use the Infinity Gauntlet together. Then he did a move, medium, to where he is. He spent 3 of that power he generated for himself to do an overpowered cosmic blast on poor Iron Man. It did, well technically did 6 down to 5 because of Invincible Iron Man. And he ain't so invincible anymore because he is gone. So now it's over to Black Widow, then it's right back over to Thanos. So Black Widow tried her best. She moved, she shot with her pistols, and believe it or not, she did actually manage to do 2 damage down to 1. So she managed to do something that for 2 unibeams, 2 gigantic death beams, Tony Stark could not do. But now it's over to Thanos to end the battle round, and it's not going to be pretty. So you maybe knew it was coming, but Thanos decided to activate the reality gem for this turn, so all skulls count as crits for him. And keep in mind, just default, he gets to reroll fails and skulls if he wanted to in general on attacks once per. Oh, it's only once per. Well, hang on, once per attack. That makes sense, obviously. Why would it? You'd expect to reroll a reroll. Anyway, through hubris or just a show of power, he decided to do 2 overpowered cosmic blasts, spent the rest of the power on himself. So 2 8-dice attacks on Hulk, counting skulls as crits. The first one, oh, you know, nothing important, just did 12 damage. The second one did 10 damage. He has just taken out the Hulk, because the Hulk does not daze. He just has the one healthy side with 20 HP. So, there is still going to be one more battle round. If Thanos takes out one more person, he wins via one of the conditions. If he breaks both machines, he will win via that condition. And all the 5 of them have to do is kill him 3 times. You know, that's easy. Oh, we have to see if he loses his suppression tokens. Let's see. Let's do it live. He loses 3 of them. So he is actually still suppressed, so he will still take damage, so there is that. We might actually see what happens if he loses all his HP on his healthy side. That'd be neat. Let's see what happens. So for the first 3 rounds, Shuri was the activations. Shuri activated, picked up a core, moved over here and attempted to interact with this to repair it. You roll 3 dice for each crit, hit and wild. You repair 1 HP, and if after you do that it has 3 or less it repairs. She healed 1, so it stays damaged. Hawkeye moved slightly, shot at Thanos, did nothing. Thor moved into base to base with Thanos, did God of Thunder. This was prior to Hawkeye moving where he is. That did 1 damage, and then he threw him with Strongest Avenger, not because it would do damage, just to try and keep him away from everybody. So Thanos is stuck over there, and that is his first activation for this turn. And with Thanos' first activation for this turn, the game is over. He outplayed them. He did a move. He interacted. -1 for Black Widow, holding it within 1. Didn't matter. Had 3 damage on it. Broke it. Used the ultimate space gem this turn. Teleported to nothing personnel behind Black Panther. Interacted with this one, which also had 3 damage on it. Did more than enough. Flipped it over. All 3 are broken. He has the full power of the Infinity Stones again. He has snapped his fingers, and everybody is gone. Thanos wins. And here was me thinking the narrative difficulty was supposed to be the easy one, where the heroes are meant to win in the end. It's very possible something was done incorrectly there, but man, Thanos is hard to take down. I actually thought it'd be quite easy to, because he doesn't have that many attacks prior to flipping over his card, but the fact he can just pump 3 power into a 5 energy, make it an 8 energy, and it does slow, which kept on getting forgotten, but it doesn't even matter. He can just obliterate people. The team setups were not prepared for this. I think Asgardians would definitely do better, combined with... I don't even know. But he was very, very powerful. He felt super threatening. He felt thematically threatening. So even if anything was slightly done wrong, it was still very, very fun. That was much better than the All Is Metal one, in my opinion. We didn't even get to see what happens when Thanos gets wounded. If he gets wounded at the start of a turn and it rolls around to his next turn, he just heals once. It's a roll called All That for a Drop of Blood. If he does eventually get flipped over, he gets angry and starts summoning the Black Order onto the table. Once per turn for as long as the turns keep happening. He did not need the help from the Black Order. It would have been nice to see them on the table, but yeah, it wasn't needed. So that was Thanos Chosen of Death winning the Infinity Gauntlet encounter. We'll probably see this again sometime in the future with a more effective team. But yeah, that was rough, but very fun. I hope you enjoyed watching. Please do show your support. See you next time. Ta for now.